here Thursday, so you can use that whole hour and a half to work on your papers. What about if we made it like Friday or Monday? Or Tuesday?
Let's just delete it.
Well, okay, but I mean, there'll be consequences, right? There's trade-offs. There's consequences at the end. How about if you need the time, take the time, and if you don't want it, just give it to me when you're supposed to, and that way I can start marking them because it takes me forever anyway. Okay. So, okay then, so you're thinking about this one, not even the next one. Are there any questions about how to do it or confusion or anything? I've posted something, posted more detailed.
By outline, do you want to do like an essay outlining market failures, or is it like, this is like point form?
Point form. Point form with examples. So for an example, if you're going to use, I don't know, a beekeeper and the flax farmer, don't just say bees and flax. I mean, I know what that is. In fact, think up your own example. Explain it. How is it, and you can explain it in point form. There's an externality. It's negative. This is the reciprocal nature, all the way down, okay? So I'm not looking for a big essay. It shouldn't take you that long, really. I'm hoping. Any other questions?
Will the next assignment be due next week then?
It'll, far back. So this is the outlines the market failure one. And then the next assignment is going to be the non-market value one. It won't be due until I'm done teaching the non-market value stuff. So, and I'm not teaching on Thursday because I have a board meeting to go to and they made it up in Waskesiu. So I'll be at a board meeting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, so I'll see you next Tuesday. So if I cover this today and next Tuesday, then it'll be the Tuesday after that the assignment's due. So that puts us on track.
Well, then this outlines due Thursday if we can, and then Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm guessing I'm going to get 32 outlines on Tuesday. Okay. Okay, you know how we were talking about grammar and grammatical errors and punctuation and stuff? Well, I get on my flight the flight goes from here to Toronto and then to Nova Scotia, and the flight attendant says, "We will be up in the air momentarily." Doesn't sound bad, does it? If you know what momentarily means, this is not something you want to hear. Momentarily means for a moment, not in a moment. So we'll be up in the air for a moment, right? So all the English people, the English professors on board. Okay. Okay, so where are we going here? So I've posted everything. You've got the non-market valuation lecture. Now what I want for this performance assessment task is a proposal. So it's going to take a little bit of thought, and I don't want you to propose the world. I want you to think of, as we go through, and you probably have a good idea this in the next 20 minutes, we're going to talk about values and the different types of values that there are and how you can measure them. So what I want you to do is pick a service or an amenity or a product or an environmental resource or whatever that doesn't currently have a price. It's not traded on the market. So, for example, if I was going to do it, because I use the non-leash, off-leash dog parks every day, I don't pay a price for that. I do through my dog license. But when you go there, you do not have to pay a fee. There's no price at the gate. So what I would want to know is, what is the value of off-leash dog parks to people in Saskatoon? So if I were going to do that, I would look at this taxonomy of values and figure out, well, is it a use value, non-use value? So what you want to do is choose something, categorize it, and then provide the most appropriate method, an explanation of the most appropriate method to evaluate it. So if you want to talk about some examples right now, we can do that, but that's what you have to do. Choose one resource. So that means you're not going to be describing everything. You don't have to describe all 5 methods that we use to evaluate it. You have to describe the best method. that best meets the needs or suits the topic that you've chosen, okay? Then I set a page limit or word limits now between 1,000 and 15 or 12 and 16 or something, so that's not that long either. And if you can't make 1,000 words, fine. Brevity is good. Try not to go over though. Okay? No other questions? All right then. So we're going to talk about non-market values. What we've talked about up until now, and what you talk about in many other economics classes, is we have value, right? We talk about marginal value, we talk about marginal benefits, we know marginal costs, we know how much it costs to produce things. With non-market values, we're now talking about resources that don't have prices. So if they don't have a price, because price gives us a lot of information. This is the demand curve, we've got quantity and price, there's the price. What information do we get from this scenario?
Value,
We get what?
like the value.
Yep.
People are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, this is, we can think of this as the willingness to pay curve, right? So the price is also the marginal value, or the marginal benefit people get from this particular product. We can calculate consumer surplus. That's the value that the people in this market get from consuming Q star. We can calculate total revenue, and when we add the two, CS plus TR, we get total value. Right? So this is the amount that's transferred. You pay somebody for a product, P times Q, that's total revenue. The value that you get above and beyond the price that you're willing to pay but don't have to pay is consumer surplus. When you add the two, this is the total value of that particular product in the market. When we talk about non-market values, we're trying to determine what these values might be, but we don't have markets to do it. And if we don't know what prices are, then how do we know how much to consume or to produce? If we don't know how much the society values this particular good or service, then how does the government decide whether to produce more, to have more parks, to increase or to set prices in some cases if there's scarcity? We don't know any of that stuff. And so the whole point of assessing non-market values is to sort of determine what this demand curve looks like and what these values in here would be. What we do know is quite often this. You have a quantity and the price equals 0. So we can sort of figure out sometimes how many people are using a resource, but that's all we have, right? What are they willing to pay more? If they are, can we take those dollars and use them for park maintenance or to improve fisheries or whatever the resource is? So that's the point of looking at non-market values. Okay, any questions? So if I were to ask you what value is, you would get, if you did a Google search, you would see the same kind of results. You'd see hundreds and hundreds of answers of what value was. So what is it? Is it a price? Is it a cost? Is it sentimental? There's a lot of different ways that we can categorize it. And so we've come up with a neat little way of doing it. And it helps to distinguish what types of resources we're looking at and how we go about valuing those resources because of their characteristics. So we call this thing the taxonomy of value. And we can divide it into two parts right away. We'll call one of them ecocentric. And the other one anthropocentric. Anthropocentric value is roughly human value, right? It's the value that we as humans place on things. Ecocentric value is obviously value of the ecosystem or the environment. Okay, we can divide this further. We place value on largely two types of goods. Goods we use and goods we don't use. And we can further take goods we use and look at different kinds of values. We have market values. We have quasi-market. Let me see if we're doing this right. Or let's just go this way. Market and non-market. Okay. So here's where I want you to think a little bit. If we're talking about value that you get from something that you're using, and you get it in the market, do we have a problem assessing what that value is? No, there's a market, right? There's a supply for it, and supply, producers respond to the prices. If there's an increase in demand, prices will go up, and suppliers will produce more. So this part is not a problem. We get value here from published or print, or we'll just say prices. Okay, so when you think of some examples of value that we get from using things that are traded in the market, natural resources. Oil, gas, what else? What? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
A lot of resources.
A lot of resources, yeah, okay. Lots of resources. Oil, gas, forestry, could I put trees here?
And what about metal, like gold,
Yep,
silver?
metals, forests, right? There's a market for forest products, so we can put that in this category. Okay, now let's look at how we derive value from goods that we use, but would be considered non-market. What is there not a market for, but goods that we use and we place value on?
Water.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe air.
Air? Yeah. What other kind of things that we don't, there's no market for it, we don't pay a price?
Biodiversity.
Biodiversity?
Like
Yeah,
wetlands,
kinda.
services.
It's hard to, like, how do we use biodiversity?
Enjoy it.
Yeah, you go to the weekend, get some biodiversity. Could be construed in an improper manner, let's just move on.
Well, like wetland services. So like reduce flooding and stuff.
Okay. Wetlands. Okay. So there's a lot of different things in here that we use or we benefit from. We use directly, we consume, but that we don't have values for. And the point of this is to determine how we're going to measure these values. Okay, let's look at this one here, non-use. What is it that we do not use but we put value on?
Biodiversity.
What's that?
Biodiversity.
Biodiversity? Let's put biodiversity over here. What about ecocentric?